Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear brother or sister. Welcome to the second day of the Arabic Starter Sprint. Today we are going to build on the Arabic alphabet that we have discussed in the previous lesson. Arabic alphabet, of course, huruf al-hija'iyyah. Now, have you already memorized the Arabic alphabet or not yet? If you have already memorized the alphabet, perfect, let's continue. If you are currently still struggling with memorizing al-huruf al-hija'iyyah, the Arabic alphabet, then don't worry, just continue with this series, because in the coming lessons, we are going to keep practicing with the Arabic alphabet. You are going to keep reusing the same letters, of course. Even if you don't memorize the Arabic alphabet for 100% yet, don't worry, it's no problem. I would say you should be familiar with at least 50% of the letters. So if you already know 50% of the letters right now, then you can continue. If you don't know 50% of the letters, then go back to the previous lesson and keep practicing with that before you continue. All right? Okay. So what we are going to do today is we are going to look to compound letters. In the previous lesson, we learned the Arabic letters in isolation. But now we are going to connect the Arabic letters, because letters rarely stand alone. Letters have neighbors, and when they meet, their shapes change. So I'm going to show you right now what we mean with that. But first, you have to understand that the Arabic letters can have 4 different forms, depending on its position in the word. So the first form is isolated, an isolated letter. And that is what we have seen in the previous lesson. We have seen only the isolated form. But we have 3 other forms, which is in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. For example, the letter Ain here, all 4 are the same letter Ain, but how we write it depends on the position of it in the word. For example, if it's isolated, then we write it like this. In the beginning, Ain, in the middle, like this. It changes, as you see. And at the end, you write it down like this. Another example, Harful Fa. These are all 4 the same letter. Only the writing style differs depending on where it is in the word. And here we see Harful Kaf. So notice that the Harful Kaf has a Hamza. Remember the Hamza? The it's coming from the bottom of the throat. Harful Kaf has the Hamza if it's the isolated form, or if the word ends with Harful Kaf. But at the beginning or at the middle of a word, Harful Kaf comes without the Hamza. A few other examples. And the one that is the most difficult actually is Harful Ha. And here you see Harful Ha. Why it's most difficult? Because it changes all the time. Harful Ha, isolated. The Ha at the beginning, the middle, and at the end. You write it down like this. Another letter, Harful Mim. Mim. Beginning, middle, and the end. And Harful Noon, again, with one dot on the top. But a small tip, you don't have to memorize all of them for now, because, like I already said, during the practice, you are going to start recognizing them. So don't stop your progress by just thinking, oh, I have to memorize this first, and then after that, I will continue to the next lesson. Don't worry. Just continue, even if you feel like I'm not really confident or I'm not really 100% mastering the lesson yet. Don't worry. Just continue, inshallah, and it will become clear the more you continue. But first, how are we going to recognize the letter in a word? So for that, I have a question for you. Can you recognize a pattern here? What stays the same? For example, Harful Mim here. What stays the same? Noon, Fa, and Ain. Can you recognize something? Actually, 2 things stay the same. The first thing is the number of the dots, and the second thing, the top part. So Harful Noon, for example, will always have 1 dot on top. Harful Fa always has also 1 dot on top. It will never change. And the same is with the Ba, with the Ta, with the Ya, with the Sa. They will always have the same number of dots. So you can recognize a letter first by the number of the dots, and the second thing that you can recognize the letter for is the top part. So what do I mean with the top part? Take a look here. For example, Harful Jim. This is the top part that is mentioned. That is with the red rectangle. Here is also the top. The Kha. So we have the Jim, Ha, Kha, Sin, Shin, Sad, Dad, Ain, Ghain. these letters, you see what is within this red rectangle will always be present. You will always find this pattern, even if it's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the word. This piece will always be readable, and the other piece, like the bottom of the letters that is not in the red figure, these will go away when we connect the letters together to form a word. حرف الفاء, also this piece will stay and the other piece will go away. Qaf, lam, mim. All right, so remember, you can recognize a letter by this red, by what is mentioned here in the red. We're going to see a few examples in a moment. But first, how can we memorize this? How can we memorize this? Now, for that, we have created a very useful sheet that you can use for all letters. You can see the isolated form, the initial, the middle, and the end. Click the link in the description, and then you can access the community, and this resource is only available for members of this community. Something you have to know as well is that there are 6 unfriendly letters. What do you mean with unfriendly letters? These letters never connect with the next letter. Instead, the next letter begins a new chain. And these 6 letters are alif, dal, zal, ra, za, and waw. Ba. You see here harful ba? It doesn't connect with the next letter. So we see the first letter ba, it connects with the alif. But alif then doesn't connect with the next letter ba, because alif is one of the unfriendly letters. So you don't put a connection between the second and the third letter here. You just keep an empty space, as you can see here. Another unfriendly letter is the waw. Waw is also unfriendly. And we can see that the lam is connected with the waw, because lam is not an unfriendly letter. But the waw is not connected with the alif, because the waw is an unfriendly letter. So we keep a white space between the waw and the alif. And again, the alif is also not connected with the hamza. Why? Because alif, again, is one of the 6 unfriendly letters. And here we show many other examples. For example, the dal, also white space between the dal and the ghain, because dal is an unfriendly letter. And here also the zal, the ra, and the za. The za is also unfriendly, so we don't connect it. For example, harf al-qaf is friendly, that's why we connect it with the ra. Harf al-shin is friendly, that's why we connect it with the zal. Okay, now we are going to the next challenge. The first word that you're going to write is read, to read. And to read is a combination of harf al-qaf, qaf, ra, and the alif. First, qaf plus ra plus, actually it's the alif, is actually the hamza on top of the alif. So qa, ra, ah. It is the alif with the hamza. Now we are going to connect these 3 letters as follows. Qaf is a friendly letter, so we are going to connect the next letter with it. Ra, qa, ra, and ra is an unfriendly letter. That's why we are not going to connect the ram with the alif. The ra will stay, and the alif we are going to write a new as a new piece. So this is harf qa, ra'a, to read. Your first word, Arabic word. The next word, to write, Let's start. Ka, ta, ba, kataba. So again, ka plus ta, 2 dots on the top. So the harf ta, 2 dots on top. Ta and the ba, 1 dot on the bottom. Kaf, ta, ba. I remember harf kaf has a hamza, but only if it's at the end of a word, or if it's isolated. So if it's an isolated, or if it's at the end, then you write a hamza. Otherwise, you don't write a hamza. Right now, we are going to connect them. Kaf. This is the kaf if you connect it with other letters. Ta, as we have seen before. Ta, ba. Kataba. Or also you can write it like this. Ka, ta, ba. Ta, ba. Ka, ta, ba. No unfriendly letters, so we write it down as one whole piece. Kataba is which means to write. Next word will be قرأ. Oh, we already did that one, so let's do خلق. خ لا لام ق قاف. Remember the difference between قاف and كاف. ق ق ك ك. All right, let's do it. قاف. This is the isolated form. Sorry, we start with the خ. خ. This is the isolated form of حرف الخ. خ لام قاف. خلق. All right, let's connect the letters now. Do we have an unfriendly letter here? No. And so we are going to make it one piece without any white space. Kha, la, qa. Like this. Khalaqa means to create. To create. And you don't have to memorize the meaning of the words, of course. It's just about the important thing is that you can recognize the letters if you see the word. Let's continue with the next letter, which is, for example, ja'ala. Ja'ala. Jim, ja'ala, jim. Ain, and the lam. Ja'ala. Okay, this is good to take take notice right now, because we are going to connect them. Jim. This is a bit. Ja, 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 a, la. And right now, remember what we said before. The piece at the top, that is what stays. So this is what will stay. The ain, this is what will stay. And the lam, because it is in the end, it will just take the form like this. So we have this piece, this is what will stay. Ja. The ain, this is what will stay. But because it becomes in the middle, we write it down like this. Ja, a, and then here, lam. Ja'ala. To make. Next, let's take a look at the word sajada. Sin, jim, dal, sa, ja, da. Again, the piece at the top, this is what will stay. So this is what will stay. This is what will stay. And the dal is at the end, so it just takes the isolated form. It just stays like that. So we have sa, sa, ja, da. This is the jim. If we connect this letter with other letters and form a word with it. Sajada means to prostrate. Means from it comes from the word sujud. Yasjud. Sujud. Next, let's take a look at dakhala. Dakhala. Dal, kha, lam. Again, let's just write it down immediately. Da. And dal is an unfriendly letter. That's why we keep it. We don't connect the next letter with it. So the next letter, we just start a new chain, a new sequence. Da, kha, la. Like this. We don't connect this here together. No. Because dal is an unfriendly letter, so it doesn't connect with the next letter. Dakhala. And that means to enter. To enter. The last letter right now, the last word. Let's go to the last one. Which color to choose? Let me choose the color, for example, red. And that is, we have entered, now we are going to exit. So, kharaja. Kha, letter red, red, kha, ra, 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 ja, 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 jim. Kharaja. So, kha, is it an unfriendly letter? No. So we are going to connect it with the ra. Is ra an unfriendly letter? Yes. So we are not going to connect it with the jim. So we get, again, remember, if we are going to connect the letters, the piece on the top, this is what will stay. So we form, this is the kha, like this, with one dot on the top, the ra, and now ra is unfriendly, so we write the jim like this. So, and actually, we can make it a bit more beautiful. Ra, ja, kharaja, like this. All right, so this is actually what happens if you connect different words together. So what can you do after this lesson? First, like always, review this lesson first. Then practice what you have learned so far. So we have already covered now 2 lessons, and you're already very far right now. So just keep practicing what with the first and the second lesson before you move to the third lesson. And of course, if you have any questions, please just leave them in the community. You can join the community for free, and then you can just ask your questions there with to other members, and inshallah we will answer your question. Barakallahu feek for watching it until the end. I hope it was beneficial for you. And of course, leave a like and let us know in the comments if you have any questions or if it was beneficial. And I hope to see you in the next lesson, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.